Welcome, everyone. According to the Equal Justice Initiative, African American schools have historically played a crucial role in advancing education and community resilience, particularly during times of systemic oppression. Mayat Sankofa is one of those schools, and today it is my pleasure to speak with the founder, Brenda Allen. Welcome, Mrs. Allen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Most definitely. All right, so we're going to jump right in. What inspired you to start Mayat Sankofa African Learning Temple?
Well, young queen, I was inspired, quite frankly, by a very divine intervention. And when I say divine, it's because I am clairvoyant and I'm a medium. So I receive messages during my dream state, during the night. And the inspiration came to me in this dream for 2 weeks in a row at 2 a.m. in the morning. I was awakened with tears and lamentations, and I didn't know why. So I asked the question, why am I being awakened? And the answer to me, I was told that our people are starving from a lack of knowledge. So I asked the next question, what am I to do about that?
Right?
Right? And the answer came to me to feed the people who are starving from a lack of knowledge. So that's our mission primarily for Ma'at Sankofa, our mission and purpose. Then my next question was, how? How do I do this? And so the school bus concept sprang to mind from Candy Lowe's Black Business Bus Tour, where she takes customers to the Black businesses. So I thought I can take the education to our people on a bus in a very unique environment. And thus is born the vision of Ma'at Sankofa's mobile classroom.
I love it. I'm so inspired. Now, can you share the significance of the name Mayat Sankofa?
Indeed, Ma'at means truth. Simple. Nothing religious, nothing, anything like that, no doctrine, just simple truth. One of our ancient African principles, right? And it's symbolized by a winged goddess. And here is a look at her. She is the goddess of Ma'at
Okay.
in our ancient principles. So when you see this symbol, you'll know that you're operating under the influence of truth in Ma'at. Sankofa, on the other hand, means to look back and fetch it.
Hmm.
And that is symbolized by the Akan people of Ghana.
Okay.
It's a bird that faces forward with its head turned backward, with a seed or um, an egg in its mouth. And it means to look back and fetch it. So I put the two terms together, Ma'at Sankofa, meaning to look back to fetch the truth of our ancestry.
All right. So important. Now,
Yeah.
how did your personal experiences shape the mission of this school and the research center?
Well, quite an experience I've had, actually. It started in 1992. I am, first of all, 71 years young, retired IT training supervisor.
Wow. Wow.
So after the civil unrest in Los Angeles, and which is where I am from,
Okay.
currently residing in Florida, in 1992, that's when I started my Sankofa. That's when I started to look back to fetch it. At that time, I was not spiritually fulfilled with the religious teachings that I was practicing. So I was in the church doing all the church work and what have you. And I won't get into that, but it's significant because it formulated a question in my mind. And and because of the contrary uh, scriptures and teaching, I asked the question then, I want, what is the truth?
Mhm.
What is the truth? And you can't ask the church what is the truth because they'll tell you, just believe.
Right.
I'm like, well, why are you, can't you explain this better for me? So when I asked the universal question, I want to know the truth, the answer came back to study the principles and practices of our ancient ancestors. And that was logical in my thinking and in my mind. So I thought, okay, well, if they did something different, let me find out what it is.
Mm,
And so I began to study in 1992 our African history. And it started with a book authored by Anthony T. Browder entitled The Nile Valley Civilization, Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization. Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization. And that book gave me a chronological overview of what happened during the pre-dynastic times and the ancient times of our ancestors in Kemet, which we now know as Egypt,
yes.
which is a Greek word for Kemet.
Mhm.
So this path, when I started on the path of looking back for the truth, it led me to study more of our Black scholars, follow their lectures, attend their workshops, join the groups, and to become an astutely aware of our ancient history and our rich heritage and our legacy. So fast forward 3 decades, 30 years later to 2022, I get to travel to Egypt and I get to tour with several of those scholars that I have been learning from. And I visited the temples, the tombs, and the monuments that I have been only seeing in books. The
Yes.
Great Sphinx. I got
Hmm.
an up close and personal encounter with that huge monument. I
Yes.
got to go inside Queen Hatshepsut's mortuary temple.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, I channel her spirit. So whenever I dress in a regalia, I represent her. She was a king queen in the 18th dynasty, a Black queen. And so um, the name of the Sphinx, it's a Greek term, Sphinx, but the Kemetic term for the Sphinx is Haru Im Akhet. And we should know these names because it's the truth of what our ancestors left. And for me, it was such a phenomenal experience to go there and to be in those temples and to learn more about the names of those that lived before us. Imhotep, Queen Hatshepsut, Queen Tai, Queen Candace, Queen Nzinga, all of those kings, the King Akhenaten, King Harkuf, King Seneferu. We should know. We know about King Ramses the
Yes.
Great, but do we know that his real name is Ursa Ma'at-Ra Setepenra Ramesu Ra'amen? We should have those names roll off our lips like we do Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X and all of our other great leaders, because they, without the ancestors, they would not have been here, nor would we.
Amen. Amen, Mrs. Allen. And let me also say, we're going to talk off this call because I want to share with you my experience in Egypt. And I'm sure you can shed some light on some things for me. All
Indeed.
right. So let me ask you, what subjects or topics are covered in the African Studies curriculum at Mayat Sankofa?
Well, currently, Young Queen, we are teaching one particular workshop, which is called the Seven Principles of Ma'at.
Okay.
And this course has been primarily presented to our adults community. So we've done several of them kind of like as a pilot because we don't have our mobile classroom ready to roll out yet.
Okay.
So we're doing it in different venues. So we are looking at scaling down that subject to teach our youth and young adults ages 6 through 15. So that is the primary workshop that we do. Our other courses and curriculum will include parenting skills, financial literacy, cosmology, computer technology, the knowledge of the 5 domains, the ancient timeline of civilization, and we're also developing a historical journey from Africa to Tampa to Royal, Florida. There's a connection. The 40 acres and a mule,
Yes.
our ancestors or some of our people still have that land in Royal, Florida. Now we know it as Wildwood, Florida. But there's a connection from Africa. The name Royal comes from the royalty in Africa. So we'll do a course on that, a presentation on our Black inventors, and we are also developing a Kwanzaa Christmas celebration.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, let me ask you, Mrs. Allen, how do you integrate information technology with African studies to empower your students?
Wow, it's fantastic. I get excited when I think about it. My background is IT, right?
Okay.
I was a former IT training supervisor, so we will incorporate virtual reality and artificial intelligence concepts of technology. What we will look to do is to create a virtual world
Mhm.
where the seven principles of Ma'at are practiced in ancient, juxtaposed against our modern day times. So we'll use animation, memes, avatars, and comic strip characters to depict a life living in utopia where we practice those seven principles and we do it in this virtual environment. And then essentially we bring it out to reality and we live it in peace and harmony and joy and reciprocity and order and balance and righteousness. Those are the principles. And I think bringing that technology will attract our youth, which is who we want to teach these principles to. So it restores our ethics and moral code to them.
Most definitely. So, financial literacy is a cornerstone of Mayat Sankofa. Why is it critical to include current banking practices and personal budgeting in your teachings?
I think, young queen, it's important because in most of our schools and in our early education, basic financial literacy is not taught. It's just not given.
Yeah.
And so consequently, we're also lacking in this common knowledge, especially if it's not practiced in the house or taught in the home environment, right? So
Mm.
at the foundation, I think we must know how to manage our finances on a basic level and be aware of the changes that will affect our future,
Right.
in the way of financial transactions, how to deal with the currency that we have now, the dollar bill, that's changing to a digital environment of bitcoins and cryptocurrency and blockchain and bricks,
Yes.
because we may no longer have the dollar bill, right? So bricks is another financial awareness that we need to know about investment strategies as well as insurance products. So what my Sankofa will bring to the table will be as a resource hub for
Mm.
our community to help them uh, gain more knowledge and guide them to the experts in these fields.
All right. So, can you share an example of a success story from one of your students?
Indeed, I can.
Okay.
Yes. While on my trip in Egypt, I met a young King David Murphy. We instantly bonded. We were in the airport at Kennedy Airport in New York, and he treated me like royalty throughout the whole journey, right? Just provided everything for me. So after he attended one of our workshops, he's an over-the-road truck driver,
Yeah.
and he happened to come into Tampa and was able to make one of our very first workshops. And he was so impressed with the knowledge that he received and the whole concept of Ma'at Sankofa and what it stands for. He gave us a very generous donation of $2,500 to help
Wow.
support our organization and has since given even more than that. So that's my success story.
All right. And
Mhm.
one that needs to be heard because as I learn more, I definitely want to give more because what you do is so needed in our community, which brings me to my next question. How does Mayat Sankofa impact the local community, and what role does it play in addressing the socioeconomic challenges?
Yes, the impact that Ma'at Sankofa, and I abbreviate it Miss Alt, it will have a great impact on our community in a very restorative way. When I say restorative, that's helping to bring back a sense of pride, dignity, empowerment, integrity, and trust. Okay, with the teaching and the knowledge of our ancient principles in commerce, trade, personal practices, our people can move away from the distrust we have with each other.
Right.
And we learn to pool our financial resources to help uplift each other, supporting our own Black businesses, thereby circulating our dollars within our community more than 6 times. We raise the status. We then begin to raise the status of our social economic to a higher level of success and depending on each other for success. When I talk about pooling our resources, there's an ancient practice called isusu, where everybody puts in a dollar amount monthly, and then one person will receive the whole pot for them to use that money. Say, for instance, 10 of us put in $100 a month, and then the person who gets that whole pot now has a lump sum of money that they can use to pay their bills, pay their rent, do whatever they need with it. And then it goes the next month, another person receives a lump sum payout, but we pool the money and we trust each other that we will give that amount each month. So everyone gets their you know, their payout.
Phenomenal way. Yeah,
Yes.
that I just want to say that's a phenomenal way to give back, and I've heard of other communities doing that as well. I'm
Yeah.
going to skip over a few questions because I feel like you've already answered those. And so, in order to keep it moving and to hear more exciting things about Mayat Sankofa, I'm just going to keep moving. So,
Okay.
how has Mayat Sankofa helped to preserve and celebrate African heritage within the broader community?
Well, my arts and Kofa, we support many of the local events that to help share our knowledge and celebrate our African history. So we support Juneteenth, Martin Luther King Day, Black History Month, Kwanzaa. We also attend recognition events
Right.
celebrating our leaders, business owners, and everyday heroes and sheroes, that are giving of themselves, bringing awareness and positive vibrations to our communities.
Okay. So, Mrs. Allen, in light of the recent U.S. election, how does Mayat Sankofa address civic engagement and the importance of informed voting within the African American community?
On a personal level, young queen, I have a vote of no confidence in our government structure at every level. That's just me.
No.
Because I know the trickerations, I know the machinations, I know the smoke screen, I know all of that happens, the corruption, the fraudulent practices, even though those in government may have, all of the sense of doing right, it's not right.
Right.
It's unjust. So that's just on me. On behalf of my Sankofa, though, we stand as a neutral on the subject, meaning for those who feel the need to engage, we do not discourage that. So
Right.
I am a registered voter.
Mm.
I just feel that I don't want to be tricked. I don't want to be played. I don't want to be jostled. I don't want to be a puppet. And I know that some things change, a lot of things don't. So, however, I do stand, or my aunt Sankofa stands strongly on the principles of truth, justice, righteousness, order, balance, harmony, and reciprocity as our moral code of conduct and ethics. And I think our government should adjust to those principles as well.
You are a phenomenal mother queen, Mrs. Allen.
Thank
Okay. So let me ask you, how does the education provided at Mayat Sankofa prepare individuals to advocate for systemic change?
you. Okay. Um, We advocate for systemic change primarily in the educational field by teaching a curriculum better well suited for our Black African communities. We all know the challenges and issues surrounding the public school system.
Yes.
And we know some of the government officials, how they feel about teaching African history and Black history. Can we fix it? I think not. It is not designed to work for us. The public school system has not been designed. I mean, just look back to 1954. We can't lose sight of that. Brown versus the Board of Education. There's still that segregation, still that discrimination, still that one schoolhouse concept, the school on the other side of the track that gets the hand-me-down textbooks that get this better than those on the other side of the tracks. What can we do about that? We build our own Black Board of Education. We support a curriculum that promotes the intelligence and genius of our youth and provide a well-rounded education based on the metaphysical aspects of their capabilities and their natural talents and skills that the school system does not look at.
You're exactly right. All right. Now, what challenges have you faced in running Mayat Sankofa, and how have you overcome them?
Well, our most challenging issue, Young Queen, is attaining consistent funding to support
Okay.
our operation. But even with that, we campaign through a crowdfunding platform using marketing strategies to promote our membership and sponsorship options. And we also recruit and donate, we recruit volunteers that donate their funds, their human resources, time and talent, their personal financial support on our behalf, and simple sweat equity.
Yeah.
Okay, and we also compete in business pitch competitions to win monetary awards for the organization. So,
Yeah. Yes, I saw one online that you were a recipient of. So we're going to get more into that and how we can give and help support your initiative. So I'm going to move on to
mhm.
this is a question about digital platforms. And I know that you're innovative in your practices at Mayat Sankofa. So how does the program adapt to technological advancements to reach more people?
Well, with my background in information technology, we don't shy away from the various digital technologies that are
Right.
available to us. I'm not afraid, even at 71, I'll go in there and I'll search around and I'll do things, maybe a little tentatively at first, but I have my oculars and I go in there and I sit and look at the technology and I'm not afraid of it. So we will use it to help us promote and brand our organization. We already have. We're on social media platforms, and a lot of it comes from myself being engaged to teach our students. We'll help them to utilize the latest devices and software. So on the bus, we will have those headsets. We will have internet connectivity. We'll have laptops so that we can delve into the technology, and our curriculum will support the use of, like I said, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, GMX immersion. We'll use audio-visual presentations and an introduction to future technologies. We'll take it as in a fearless step into our future.
All right. Now, if you could expand Mayat Sankofa's reach, what would your dream initiatives look like?
Oh my goodness, it's a vision indeed, my dear. From the onset of Ma'at Sankofa, we have always said that we will expand to a whole fleet of mobile classrooms. And we can traverse both nationally and internationally, bringing the education around our nation and abroad. Then we could scale up to a brick and mortar learning temple and institution, again, both nationally and internationally. So we will sustain our own Black Board of Education, our educational ministry, and an independence with it all encroached in a trust inside our sovereign Aboriginal nation. So Ma'at Sankofa is not only just a business, we're also a church, a faith-based educational ministry, not religious,
Right.
coming from more of a spiritual
Mhm.
background. And so we will separate from the matrix and build our own vertical educational system. And we don't need permission to do that.
All right. I'm telling you, Mrs. Allen, I'm so inspired, but we'll connect. We'll connect on many different levels. So
Indeed, we
just
will.
know that you have a supporter here. So let me ask you, what legacy do you hope Maya Sankofa will leave for future generations?
My Maat Sankofa's legacy will be held in perpetuity, young queen. It will be unending. It will be sustained by future generations of our youth and our elders. Excuse me, the legacy held for generational wealth purposes, knowledge sharing, trustworthiness, integrity, dedication, and loyalty to the principles and the oaths of Ma'at Sankofa's African Learning Temple. So as long as the temples and monuments have withstood the test of time in ancient Kemet in Egypt, that is the legacy that Ma'at Sankofa will move forward. Everyone will know that it's there.
Yes, they will. And as an educator and a leader, what advice would you give to others trying to make a similar impact in their communities?
That question, my dear, and my advice is just to know the truth for yourself.
Mm.
Know the truth for yourself. Lead by example.
Right.
Lead by example. Pace yourself for longevity's sake. And then never lose focus on your purpose and your path to lead and educate.
All right. So how can individuals support Maya Sankofa or get involved with your mission?
Yes. Well, you can support us a number of ways. We have our website at www.maatsankofa.com. So we are seeking volunteers, keyboard members. We need a secretary and a treasurer
Okay.
and support staff. And as I stated earlier, we are organized as a church, faith-based educational ministry with a tax exempt status as a 508c1a nonprofit organization. So when you give and donate, you can write that off using our EIN number to write off your taxes. We also have our Cash App at $ Ma'at Sankofa. On social media, we're with Facebook. On the Facebook platform, you can give us stars to support. Comment, share, like, subscribe. We are on YouTube and Instagram. We've also launched our GoFundMe, and I'm going to relaunch that again for crowdfunding and other uh, campaigns that we will do for fundraising. And then you can contact me personally. And my number is area code 323. The number is 793-7688. Again, that's 323-793-7688. Ma'at Sankofa's other number that you can reach us is 813-609-8606. And then you can also email us at admin@maatsankofa.com. So various ways to reach us and to touch us. And I'll be happy to meet with anyone that would like to sit down and talk about scholarships, how to support. We do have memberships available at various levels of funding sources.
All right. So hopefully everyone who comes in contact with this video and views it knows that what you're doing, Mrs. Allen, is, needed in our community, and hopefully everyone will give and give generously. So I just want to say thank you.
Yeah,
Blessings to you and Mayat Sankofa. This was more of a pleasure for me because I know that I have so much more to learn, and I definitely will be a part of what Mayat Sankofa has and to offer for the future. So I just want to say thank you.
thank you for having me, young queen. It has been a delight to talk to you and to share our vision and mission. And we do have a study group that we meet online on every other Thursday. So we teach from a particular book called Stolen Legacy. So you're
Okay.
welcome to join us.
All
Thank
right.
you for your time, for having me.
Yes, and happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you as well.